welcome back to my channel. My name is Derica and you already know you're watching Shelf Love with D. Welcome back to another weekly wrap up of my reads and streams. So as y'all know, we're going to talk about books first and then we'll dive into what I watched this past week. It seems like the what I've been averaging is about 3 books every week, and that's pretty good for me. And usually that is split between a physical, an audio, and a e version of a book. So I think this is working for me. I'm able to, kind of sit with these stories, dissect them, and usually I am reading one more than the others. The audios will usually be like if when I'm picking the kids up from school, or if I'm in the car for some reason, or if I'm cleaning, especially. I found here lately that I enjoy listening to my audiobook as I'm folding laundry. So it usually takes me a little longer to finish audiobooks because I'm not just listening to them around the clock unless they're just really, really, really good and I want to finish it. But for the most part, I try to knock out my physical first, and then my audio in the Kindle usually kind of go hand in hand. But anyway, let's get into this weekly wrap up so I won't hold you long. Today is Super Bowl Sunday. Let me know down in the comments who you are cheering for, or if you are just there for the halftime show. We will definitely be watching it. We went to Walmart and got our little tailgating food and snacks, and so I'm looking forward to spending the day with my family. So I want to knock this out and then get back to doing that. So first things first, the first book that I read was My Sister the Serial Killer, and I have the iPad here to just kind of help me refresh my memory. I rated this book 3 stars. This book was such a different kind of read for me. It was a story, right? Very straight to the point, very black and white. There was not much deviation or twists and turns or anything. It was just a story. It was like if I'm sitting down talking to you like, girl, so the other day I went over JoJo's house and JoJo was telling Bobby that he wasn't going to be dealing with I just noticed Eden's little bad butt wrote on this wall. Kids. Okay, so we will straighten that out later. But anyway, so yeah, it was just like telling the story. So I'm telling you, like, JoJo told Bobby that she can't come back over until she paid her the money she owes, and Bobby was like, okay, I'm gonna have it for you on the 15th. It was just kind of like a story. There was no real excitement, no real like twisty turns or anything too complex. It was just literally like reading a story about somebody's life, like 2 sisters and their kind of day-to-day life. But with that being said, I enjoyed the read. It was just a simple read. I liked the writing style. I liked this story. Would I recommend it? Probably not. It's not one that I was like, oh, you should read. What is it called? My Sister the Serial Killer. But if you were saying that you read it, I'd be like, okay, what'd you think of it? Did you enjoy this? A cool little read, I'm nothing too deep. But let me see here. Let's read the synopsis if you are not aware of this book, never heard of it, or if you've seen it and been curious about it. So it says it is a satire meets slasher, and the short, darkly funny hand grenade of a novel about a Nigerian woman whose sister has a very inconvenient habit of killing her boyfriends. So this sounds good, right? That they have 2 sisters. One of them has a habit of killing their boyfriend and calls the sister, and she's like the cleanup. And that's really the book. It's like, hey sis, I killed another one. Come help clean up, get rid of body, move on. And it's that way until the end. And even with the end, I was reading it on my Kindle, but if I had a physical book, I would have been like flipping through the pages like, oh, so that's it? Like, it was anticlimactic. The ending was, but I still enjoyed it, if that makes sense. Maybe because I like true crime. I watch a lot of that. I watch a lot of, biographies and things just like In the Mind of a Killer, or Love Made Me Do It, things like that. I'm really big on the mind. I really like to hear stories about that. And so just kind of reading in this book, not that it dives deep into the mind, but just the nature of their relationship, and trying to figure out what is this sister's problem, because every time she kills somebody she has an excuse why. Oh, he tried to, you know, put his hands on me, or he tried to, you know, attack me, and so I had no choice. You know, every time she does it, it's in self-defense, so she says. But it really is just a story, nothing really exciting. I don't regret reading it. Like I said, I would not tell anyone not to read it. It's just a story. There was one comment that I read that I felt like really sums it up. Even this one, you know, saying like that this book's basically like sums it up of like, this book asks the timeless question of how far would you go to protect your family. It just wasn't a deep read for me. Let's see, I'm trying to find the comment that I read, but it was just basically saying, you know, what I said as well, that it is just a story. It's a good story. It wasn't a very long read, so I appreciated that with the author, that she didn't try to drag this out and make it something that it didn't need to be. It was a short, sweet story, or short and sweet story, and I don't regret reading it. It's a nice little palate cleanser. I was frustrated with the older sister a lot because she was a pushover. She didn't speak her mind, and I am a outspoken person. I'm very direct, and I speak my mind, because I believe if we're going to have any type of real relationship, whether that's friendship or more, I have to speak my mind so that you truly know who I am and what you're getting. And then if we, you know, that lets us know if we really click or mesh. So why am I going to be holding all these things in? Like, I don't want to give any spoilers, but she allows life to happen to her, and I just don't mesh with that type of thing. But even that, just, it wasn't bad. It's so hard to explain it, because I kept coming back to the book. I kept, you know, clicking page after page, because I was enjoying it, but it wasn't just like a wild and exciting ride. I think it would just kind of be one of those things, like if you're watching The First 48 or Black Girls Unlost, or you know, any type of true crime show, Snapped, and things like that. You know, do you say, oh, this is a good show, or oh, I enjoyed this, or, you know, it's like you're watching it because it's entertaining, it's educational, you're learning so much from it. But, you know, with the context, you know, I don't know, like I said, if I was just to sit down and tell you like, oh girl, Dwayne killed a boy over there in front of the Tasty Freeze, and you know, this and this happened afterwards. So that's just kind of what this book was for me. It's like my sister killed somebody, and then we go through the steps of what she does to help her get out of that situation, and then they move on. She meets another guy, she kills him. So it wasn't anything to just really write home about, but I enjoyed it nonetheless, if that makes sense. So if you've read this book, would love to hear your thoughts about it. Let's see, the overall rating for this book is 3.5 stars, and I think that's legit. I think that's a good rating for this book. I would really be, there are a couple that gave it higher, and I'm shocked with that, because it just wasn't enough there for the book to be a 5-star. But if you found that 5-star in that book, great. I didn't hate it, but it just wasn't anything really to just write home about. So all right, moving on to the next was The Kiss Countdown. And I was greatly surprised at how much I enjoyed this book. I tend to kind of veer away a bit from like fluffy foo-foo romance. I just like my romance to have more depth, to really pull at my heartstrings and make me cry, make me feel things. But another reason why I steered away from this book was because it had an astronaut in it. And one of the things was like I told my husband, it wasn't for me like realistic in the sense of how often do we meet an astronaut. But then I'm like, astronauts are normal people. They're not like making them in a factory and making them astronauts. So they're normal people. So there could very well be an astronaut walking around in Walmart, and I just don't know he's an astronaut. But I also, outside of that, I thought that they were going to have too much astronaut jargon, and that I wasn't going to enjoy it. And so somebody, who was it? I want to say it was Bookmark by Aaliyah, who she said she read this, and she was saying how she was pleasantly surprised with how much she enjoyed this book. So, you know, that's my girl. I trust her judgment. So if she says it, I'm like, maybe I will give it a try. And I enjoyed this book. Really enjoyed this book. I rated it 4.5 stars. I just left a brief little review on Goodreads. It says 4.5 star read, would have loved to hear Vincent's POV, but overall I personally enjoyed this read. So I think that was the one thing that kept me from giving it just a, you know, flat out 5 star, was everything was from the female character's point of view, and they were dealing with a lot. They, like, individually, so she had her, you know, her baggage, her things that she was dealing with, and he had his things in his family and his world that he was dealing with as well, but everything was from her point of view. So we didn't get to see him counter anything or what his true feelings were. It was just all what she said, and we just kind of had to take her word and stand on that. But I really enjoyed this book. Really enjoyed this book. It was so much more depth to it than I expected it to be, especially with the cover was giving to me a little foo-foo, you know, cheesy, a little, you know, fluffy romance, and I just did not expect the depth that was in this book. One of the things that stood out for me in this book was that her mom has sickle cell, and she has it pretty bad, and you know, by the time the female character reaches adulthood, the mom is getting really sick, really weak, and in a lot of pain. And you know, I know personally people who someone who had sickle cell, and how painful that was for them and how debilitating that could be for them. But it was to the point where she knew that she would, you know, would lose her mom soon, and just the way that she responded to that was so familiar to me that, you know, it hit home, because, you know, her mom was losing weight. She was in a, you know, wheelchair. She needed a wheelchair to get around. She was in and out of the hospital, and you know, there would be times that she would see her mom's name show up on her phone with a call or a text, or they'd be calling with updates or wanting to come visit her, and she was kind of pushing them away and not answering that call as much as she should have, because it was just hard for her to know that her mom was dying. You know, even if she wasn't like 100% dying, in the sense she was slowly withering away, and she knew that she would be losing her mom soon, and that was hard for her to grasp and accept. So it was kind of like out of sight, out of mind. If I don't get these updates, if I don't go in the hospital and see her, that, you know, her clothes are hanging off her and she's barely standing, if I don't see these things with my eyes, if I don't hear the pain in her voice, then it's not actually happening, which I know to some people seems crazy. But I've been there when my pops was sick, and he wasn't following doctor's orders, and he didn't want this treatment, and he didn't want the surgery and things like that. I knew I was going to lose him. And my husband, I love him to pieces. He was always on me of like, you know, yes, it's hard for you to accept his choice to choose how he wants to live his life, because I'm a fixer. I am all about solution. And when he was sick, I'm like, okay, what does he need? Okay, what medicine? Okay, what surgery? And he didn't want to do those things, and it was hard for me. So I love that she realized that as well, because you know, whether you hide from it or not, it's happening. That's just like people that's like having a pain in their stomach, their back, or whatever, and they just ignore it because they're scared of what it could be. It's still growing. It's still affecting your body. You know, if that person is dying, they are still going to die. And if you hide from it, it doesn't stop it from happening. It keeps you from soaking up every bit of them before they are gone, and you know, miss out on that. And once they're gone, once that reality sets in that they are truly gone, that now you can't pick up a call, you can't ignore a call, you can't go and see them, you know, that is much worse than, you know, being there and seeing them, as hard as it is, you know, wither away. But I love that she realized that in the book, and she realized it before it was too late, and she knew she just had to face it head on, that no matter the outcome, I want to be able to say that I was there for my mom, and I soaked every bit of her up, and you know, while I could. But you know, so they were dealing with stuff like that in this book. So there was so much depth to this book, so much substance, so many layers, that we only got to see her point of view. I would have loved to see Vincent's point of view. But you know, with that being said, a very good book. Really enjoyed it. So the book description says a struggling event planner and a sinfully hot astronaut must decide if their fake relationship is worth a shot at happily ever after. In this starry debut, oh, this was her debut. Risk adverse event planning A. Marie Price is jobless, newly single and about to lose her apartment, with no choice but to gamble on her shaky startup. The last thing she needed was to run into her smug ex and his new girlfriend. The last thing she needed was to run into her new ex and his new, less complicated girlfriend at A. Marie's favorite coffee shop. Panicked, she pretends to be dating the annoyingly sexy man she met by spilling Americano all over his abs. He plays along for a price. Half the single men in Houston claim to be astronauts, but Vincent Roger turns out to be the real deal. What started as one off lie morphs into a plan. So I'm going to leave it at that, just in case you are interested in reading this book, which I really do highly recommend this book. Really, really enjoyed this book so much. I liked them together. I liked, how they helped each other kind of navigate through things. And I take that back. So the thing about it, they didn't truly like help each other. It's kind of like they just went on that journey together. And as they were just being them and opening up to each other and getting to know each other, they were healing in the process and learning and growing in the process. I do definitely wish that the female character had a bit more of a voice. There was a lot of times that she was just being a pushover or just going along with things. There was times that it felt like the main male character was a little more invested and she was always kind of questioning things. And there were a lot of times where instead of being in the moment enjoying things, A. Marie was in her head about what ifs. Whatever they were doing, she was always she'd go from being present in the moment to being inside her head. Some things that I think I would have enjoyed more and really been able to give this book a 5-star read was, like I said, if we would have gotten more of Vincent's point of view, because as they were falling, he was doing different things of like being very caring and attentive or planning dates or activities, and we didn't know if he was doing that because he was keeping up appearances to try to because it is a fake dating trope, or if he was genuinely falling for her. And I think if we had his point of view, we could have heard him saying like I know that we aren't really dating, but I'm falling for her and I want to show her what she means to me and this, that, and the third. But I will say I am not normally I would say fake dating is not one of my top favorite types of tropes, but this one was a pretty good sell for me. You do have to kind of extend your imagination, extend your beliefs, because again, it is a fake dating trope. But for the most part, it was like, okay, if I lean my head to the side and squint a little bit, I can see how this might happen, but overall, I enjoyed this book. I was invested in this book. I was invested in the characters. I liked Vincent as a main male character because he was just different. He was kind of a little more that cool, laid back type of person, just be who you are. I am who I am, and let's just be us. I liked it, and I don't see it happening because there's really no point. I don't know if she would come out with a part 2 and we get Vincent's more Vincent's point of view. Probably not. But overall, I enjoyed this book, would read it again, would recommend it, and I would love to hear anyone's thoughts who read it, just to get more input, because this was just a different type of read. It wasn't just your overall full of romance, full of just love oozing from the pages. It kind of developed a little differently. So I'm just curious to hear what your thoughts are. If you read this book, please let me know down in the comments. Let me know what your thoughts, what you rated it, and if you haven't read it, have you seen this book floating around? Is one that you think that you would like to read? So really enjoyed that one. And the last book that I read this past week was The Unhoneymooners Book 1 by Christina Lauren. I rated this book 3.5 stars. Okay, so this book was okay. I definitely had some laughs in this book, and it's not bad at all. The issue for me is that I I don't know where I got this from. Maybe it was the cover and the title. I assumed this was a romance. And I do believe that it is under the romance genre, but it does not feel like a romance at all. At all. There is no real connection to me personally between the female main character and the male main character, but I feel like it's trying to be forced. What I didn't like, first, let me read to you. I keep forgetting to do this. Let me read what the book description is about. It says, Olive is always unlucky in her career, in love, and well, everything. Her identical twin sister, Amy, on the other hand, is probably the luckiest person in the world. Her meet cute with her fiance is something out of a romantic comedy gag. And she managed to finance her entire wedding by winning a series of internet contests. Double gag. Worst of all, she's forcing Olive to spend the day with her sworn enemy, Ethan, who just happens to be the best man. Olive braces herself to get through 24 hours of wedding hell before she can return to her comfortable, unlucky life. But when the entire wedding party gets food poisoning from eating bad shellfish, the only people who aren't effective are Olive and Ethan. And now there's an all-expense-paid honeymoon in Hawaii up for grabs. Putting their mutual hatred aside for the sake of a free vacation, Olive and Ethan head for paradise, determined to avoid each other at all costs. But when Olive runs into her future boss, the little white lie she tells him is suddenly at risk to become a whole lot bigger. She and Ethan now have to pretend to be loving newlyweds, and her luck seems worse than ever. But the weird thing is that she doesn't mind playing pretend. In fact, she feels kind of lucky. All right, take a little sip. That's so good. Okay, so as you can see, the book is about two twins, one who's considered lucky, one who feels she's very unlucky. One is getting married. The unlucky sister has a sworn enemy by the name of Nathan, and he is the best man. So they are in forced proximity. They are having to deal with each other, right? This book does a very good job of making you feel like they are truly enemies. Very good job. They never fully say if she is like big. They say curvy, and sometimes depending on who's using that word, you know, it can mean different things. So we're gonna say that the unlucky sister is thick. She's a thick, so I don't know how thick. They just say curvy, and they use that quite a bit in this book. She's curvy, right? And they focus a lot on her eating and enjoy eating, and sometimes being looked at as, you know, with disgust because she's eating like cheese curds or things like that, and she's like not gonna not eat because of, you know, what people think of her and things like that. So with that being said, there's definitely a lot of instances where she feels like Ethan, her sworn enemy, is looking down on her because she's big, or looking down on her because she's eating certain things. Like I said, the author does a great job of making you think that they are truly enemies, that they don't like with each other, they don't mess with each other at all, for real. So you take that, there's a lot of that. There is a lot of sarcasm. There is a lot of, like, you know, even when he saw her at the wedding, you know, he telling her, look, she looked like a Skittle, telling her, you know, I mean, like, he's talking about what she's wearing, like her speech, like, they do a pretty good darn job with making you think they truly don't like each other. There's no hint of attraction whatsoever from either side. And then they're forced on this trip, this honeymoon, this all expense paid, because the bride and groom can't go. And now suddenly he's looking at her, you know, seductively. He's seeing her beauty. She's looking good in a bikini. And, you know, she's like, oh, he's so handsome. He's got washboard abs, and I'm like, so we're just gonna forget about like the quote unquote fat shaming. We're gonna forget about how he acts like he's disgusted with you and can't stand you. And then when the why comes out, it's like falls a little flat. Like, so that's why you were treating her like that? And how are you okay with that? Like, how do you just push all that out of your mind? Because I know with me, You ain't gotta like me. You ain't gotta think I'm cute. Even when I was in school, you know, I blossomed late. I was the, you know, ugly duckling. I wasn't, you know, getting a lot of applications to be my boyfriend. So you don't have to like me, right? And you can think what you want to think about me, but you know, now that I'm more attractive, now that I am comfortable and confident in who I am, you don't get to be like, oh, Jerica, you grew up to be so pretty. And I'm gonna be like, oh, let me forget all the times you made fun of how I was fat, or I wore glasses, or I was this, that, and the third, and now I'm in love with you. And to me, that's what it was. It's like, because to be honest, I remember when I was in my 20s, and I feel like that was kind of like when I was really coming into myself and finding myself and, you know, my fashion or my style and look. I had guys slide into my DM and be like, oh, you actually grew up to be so pretty, or you grew into yourself, and what's up? Excuse me, if you don't move around, like, you were so mean to me. You know, I heard you call me ugly, and now you think, like, what is wrong with you? So in this book, when she did that, I was like, no, value yourself, love yourself. Like, you can be cool with him now that you understand, like, his why, even though I feel like that was so stupid. But like, you can be cool with him now, but to like now be in love with him, and like, you know, maybe I misunderstood Ethan all this time. It was just, to me, it was too much hate. And I don't mean like hate, like too much haterism. Like, you were hating on her too much, clowning on her too much, especially like how she looked in clothes, to like now suddenly be attracted to her, even in the sense of like she looks attractive in a red bikini. It just was not giving. It was just not believable. So now with me saying all that, you think she hated the book. I actually enjoyed it. Once I accepted that it was not a romance, that maybe just contemporary fiction, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. The girl, the female main character, she is funny. She is sarcastic. She has a dry sense of humor. She is quick with the comebacks, and I liked it. I liked the banter. I really enjoyed the female main character. So for me, I enjoyed it. When I was reading through the reviews, I think a lot of people were like, what is this? This is not a romance. And I also learned that Christina Lauren are two people. I didn't know that they are two best friends who write together, and whose one name is Christina, one is Lauren. So they, you know, co-write these books together. And, you know, some of the people were saying like, if it's felt like two different people writing the book, or they were kind of being mean on the reviews on this book. But for me, I think maybe the title and but it's called The Unhoneymooners. But anyways, I think the title, the premise, and the things, you know, how the cover is all like kind of foo-foo and cute and pretty colors and bright. I think it was kind of giving romance, and I think people were expecting romance, but I think they kind of missed it a bit with how much they let us see into the mind of the male main character and the female main character. Well, I guess we didn't really see into his mind until later, but like just what she was experiencing, we're reading that with, like, you know, like I said, she's eating cheese curds and he's looking disgusted at her, like, you know, or he's telling her she looked like a skill in this dress, or, you know, this, that, and the third, like just making fun of her and about her and can't stand her and things like that. And then now they're in love. So it was like, that's a little too much hate for me to believe that these two people would fall for each other. Could they eventually be cool and deal with each other, since their brother and sister are married? Yeah, but to be together and fall in love, not so much. But I say all that to say that read this book. If you want to laugh, read it. I found it funny. If you are a person like that likes dry sense of humor and sarcasm, like, you know, I always refer back to like The Office or Abbott Elementary, things like that, then you will enjoy this book, because there's lots of that. I highly recommend the audiobook, because that really brought it to life for me and really had me laughing. I was reading it sometimes on my Kindle, sometimes immersively, and sometimes just by audio, and I really enjoyed the audio of this book. Just go into it knowing that it is not a romance, and you may not like the male main character because you're like, he is a jerk, and who are you to be trying to pick her apart, or whatever. But and another thing with this book was it didn't seem like anybody in her circle really liked her. There was a point of the book where everything kind of came to a head, and boy, did everybody tell her how they really felt about her. And I'm like, how do you call yourself her sister and her friend, and then y'all just kind of you just let life happen to you? And I was like, oh, are you in a circle of snakes? Like, how do you not tell me this sooner? How do you not, as my friend or my sister, tell me these things? How do you just let me go through life thinking that we're cool, we're good, and you like me? Or how do you see something in me that needs to be fixed and you don't talk to me about it, but you wait till like it hits the fan to like bring that out? And that's the worst time to bring something out that you feel that I should work on, is when stuff has hit the fan. But overall, y'all, I enjoyed the book. Even if it doesn't sound like I enjoyed it, it's funny. It's just not a romance. I do have an update for y'all about my TBR for February, but I'm gonna save that for another video. But just stay tuned to that. I know we already talked about what books I'm gonna read, but yeah, I'm just gonna update that. I'm gonna update y'all on that in another video, because I've made some updates and some changes to that, and I will let you know why. So for this past week, my wrap up for streams were movies. I pretty much watched all movies, aside from what I started the week with was MasterChef duos. As I've said before, I'm a Chef Ramsay fan. I love everything that he does. I love him as a chef. I will be going to Hell's Kitchen restaurant one day. I told hubby we got to make that happen. But love it. MasterChef is where like regular people who like to cook come on the show, and they can win some money. And I feel like they also win something else, but I think it's like, I don't know. They win some money, and then I feel like they end up usually having like a cookbook or something like that. Really enjoyed it. This year they did duos, so couples were coming on there and siblings were coming on there, and I really enjoyed it. There was this one couple that just worked so well together, even in the thick of things when the pressure was building. He was just so encouraging to her, and so you just get to see how everybody like works under pressure and how different people respond. Because some of the people, when the pressure got hot, the way they started talking to each other is crazy. But I really enjoyed that. If you have not watched MasterChef, check it out. If you enjoy cooking shows, you would definitely enjoy that one as well. So the movies that I watched were Paid in Full. Put it up on the screen for you. Paid in Full, Juice, and Boys in the Hood. So with this being Black History Month, I want to dive back into the Black classics, whether it's the 90s, 80s, or things like that, or whether it is in movies or biographies. Definitely want to dive into the culture. It's so nostalgic for me. And Paid in Full was a first for me. I had never watched that movie before, and I was really into it. Now, of course, all these movies are black. So if you enjoy movies like that, like American Gangster, The Wood, The Brothers, Babs, like if you truly love like Boomerang, the black classic movies, then you will enjoy this. Paid in Full is a gangster movie about that life, things like that, based off the true story of Money Making Mitch, and I think his name is Oppo. My husband was telling me all this. These people were new to me, so don't think I know all this. He was telling me this information. Oppo, who I think was a snitch, and this is back in the 80s in Harlem, I believe. And just the rise and fall of that, and that lifestyle of when you're selling and making the money and getting the cars and all that, like how often do they really get to keep it and enjoy it? So really enjoy that. It's a black classic, 5 stars hands down. Juice, if you know me, my late husband Tupac was in that movie, so I watch and enjoy anything that he is in, anything that he is a part of. I'm gonna watch it. I love Juice. Juice is crazy. Tupac's character in there was crazy in every sense of the word. If you've not watched Juice, watch it. It's about a group of friends. They call themselves the Crew, and how they want to make some money. So they decide one day to rob a store, and just things go left from there. And these are high school students, I believe. Yeah, they're high school students. And how things just snowball from making that one decision to go and rob this corner store, like even just within their circle. Crazy. If you've not watched it, highly recommend. Another 5-star. And then Boys in the Hood was a rewatch for me as well. Just love that movie. Of course, it's just how it goes sometimes, and you know, when you grow up in the hood and you're trying to make something of yourself, and you know, hang with certain people and certain things that you just, you know, but then you have that one friend who wants to make it out the hood, wants to make something of himself, you know, whether through schooling or sports and things like that, and just how that kind of goes. I don't want to give anything away just in case someone has not watched it. I do recommend these movies, and I will be watching all Black classics this month. I'm thinking I'm gonna watch Babs, y'all. I love y'all. I love Babs. Watched that so much as a kid, and as an adult, you know that movie pretty much word for word.
Don't yet. Say right here in my etiquette notes that if they say how are you, we say living large and taking charge, big boy. You doing that country stuff. We in Beverly Hills. So when they say how are you, we smile sweetly and say very well, thank you, and yourself.
I love the fashion on there, love the crazy hairstyles. Like, that is my movie. Living large and taking charge, big boy. So if you've not seen Babs, watch it. I'm going to be checking that out this upcoming week, along with some other Black classics. If you have any recommendations for Black classics for me, whether they're early 2000s, 90s, 80s, or even further back, please let me know that in the comments, because I want to soak it all up. Love the fashion of that time, just the feeling of those movies and of that time, and watching our people on screen. Love it. So thank y'all so much for joining me for another weekly wrap up, y'all. We are almost at 500. Thank y'all so much for supporting me and just riding with me on this journey. I truly enjoy talking about books. I truly appreciate each and every one of you who have subscribed to my channel, who engage with me. Like, y'all rock with me for real, and that really touches my heart. I truly appreciate you. Whenever we reach 500, I will be doing another giveaway for 2 winners, and it's just up from there. So again, let me know down in the comments, do you have any Black classics that you just love, know word for word, will recommend to me? If you've read any of these books, let me know your thoughts, especially about Unhoneymooners or The Kiss Countdown. And all 3 of them, really let me know your thoughts on those, because they were just such different reads for me, and just so many mixed reviews on that. I mean, it's always mixed reviews, but these 3 books really just was split. Like, everybody just had all different kind of reviews. So I'm curious as to what my girls think of those books as well, if you've read any of them. But that's it. That is all for today's wrap up. Take care of yourself, and until next time, don't forget to show yourself some love today.
Blessed with another chance, blessed with another chance, blessed with another chance. I am.